Shabbat Shalom. Throughout synagogues in the greater Chicago area, today has been designated as Shabbat HaChatufim, the Shabbat of solidarity with our captive family. We are grateful to the leadership of the JUF for helping organize this day for our entire community, to acknowledge and mourn and fight for the 220 Israelis who remain captive in Gaza. On October 7th, at least 1,300 of our people were murdered. On October 7th, at least 220 were taken hostage and carried off into Gaza. We are so grateful that 4 captives have been freed, but hundreds remain. Our hearts are shattered. In the back of the sanctuary, you will see 203 photos and names on the chairs. Those are as many as we have photos of, representing the 220 of our family members that are imprisoned as we speak. These 220 chairs represent 220 armchairs that are empty, and rocking chairs, dinner chairs, and desks, and cribs that are empty. On October 7th, the terrorists from Hamas, in an organized, coordinated attack, kidnapped old and young, men and women, Holocaust survivors, and infants. They are our mothers and fathers, our sisters and brothers, our husbands and wives, grandsons and granddaughters, nephews and nieces, neighbors and friends. They hail from every corner of the globe. They include Jews and non-Jews. Their chairs are empty, and our hearts are on the floor. At the conclusion of the service, I encourage you to spend time reading each name. They should all be said aloud. For now, I'll give voice to only a few. Margalit Moses, 78 years old, was abducted from her home. Jimmy Gilinero Pecheo, 33 years old, a Philippine national working in Israel, was kidnapped. The Shoham family, Israeli Germans, were all 4 abducted. Mother Adi, 38, father Tal, 38, daughters Nava, 8, and Yahel, 8. Kfir Bibas, 9 months old, an Israeli Argentine, was stolen away. And one name that is familiar to many in this room is Hirsch Goldberg Poland. Hirsch is a 23-year-old with deep roots here in Chicago. Hirsch's cousin, Lori Goldberg Orenstein, was our religious school director here at Anshe Emet for 5 years. Many in this room are connected to Hirsch's grandmother, Leah, and to the entire family. Hirsch was at the music festival in Re'im. Terrorists entered the shelter where he was hiding and detonated grenades. Videos now show a stump where his left arm used to be. His last signal from his cell phone was at the border with Gaza. Hirsch's mother, Rachel Goldberg Poland, has been indefatigable in screaming out her story to all who will listen. In a speech she delivered, Rachel said this: "The very cruelest of questions that each of us is asked every day without intended malice is, 'How are you?' Well, picture your own mother. And then picture her being told there are only 2 options. You are either dead Or you had your arm blown off and you are kidnapped at gunpoint in Gaza and no one knows where you are. Or if you bled to death in that truck 18 days ago, or if you died yesterday, or if you died 5 minutes ago. Picture your own mother, and those are her only options when you ask, how are you? Today is Shabbat HaChatufim, a day to honor all our loved ones who are in captivity. They all have mothers. They have fathers. They have sons and daughters. They have husbands and wives. They are missing, and we can't forget them. The reason why today was chosen to lift up their stories is that the Torah this week tells of a time when our ancestor Avram stood where we stand today. His nephew Lot was abducted. Lot had been living in Sdom. A war between local leaders came to threaten his life. As the kings of Sdom and Amorah fled, his city was invaded and Lot was taken into captivity. In Genesis chapter 14, the second aliyah that we heard today, read from the Torah, we learn, Vayikhu et Lot ve'et ruchsho ben achi Avraham ve'yelchu ve'hu yoshev bistom. They also took Lot, son of Avram's brother, and his possessions and departed, and he settled in Sdom. A fugitive brought the news to Avram the Hebrew, who was dwelling near the terebinths of Mamre. Vayishma Avraham ki nishba achiv. When Avraham heard that his brother's household had been taken captive, note the word brother here, he mustered his retainers, born into his household, numbering 318, and they went as far as Dan. At night, he and his servants deployed against them and defeated them, and he pursued them as far as Horvah, which is near Damascus. He brought back all his possessions. He also brought back Achiv, his brother, Lot, and his possessions, and the women and the rest of the people. In the Torah, we learn that Avram would go to any length to save his captured nephew. Avram gathers his troops and risks his life to bring Lot home. Rabbeinu Bachya, a commentator from the 12th century in Spain, notes that the language the Torah uses here is interesting. Consistently, as we heard, the verses do not refer to Lot as Avram's nephew, which he was, or as his relative in the generic, but the Torah calls him Achiv, his brother. Bachya explains, as to the word Achiv, his brother, when in fact Lot was Avram's nephew and not his brother, the Torah wrote it this way in order to show us the virtue of brotherliness, which Avram extended even to a nephew who had chosen to live as a neighbor to the wicked people of Sdom. He had not allowed considerations of the strife which had occurred between them previously to influence his judgment concerning his nephew, the son of his brother. He risked his life on his behalf as if he were his biological brother. Contemporary scholar Rabbi Shai Held builds on this understanding. The truth is, he explains, Avram and Lot were not on good terms. Avram and Lot had parted ways. Lot had chosen wealth over family. Lot had chosen distance over proximity. The values of the two men were disparate and the relationship was strained. But when Lot was captured, all that disappeared. Because when it comes to family, no matter how distant they are on the tree, and no matter how much distance we may have in our personal or political relationships, when there is distress, when someone is, God forbid, abducted, we drop everything, the same as we would for our own literal brothers and sisters. Mark Twain famously said, "History never repeats itself, but it does often rhyme. Avram fought for his kidnapped nephew. We are fighting for our abducted brothers and sisters. And in between here and there, more times than we would like to recount, the Jewish people have faced precisely this peril. Our tradition learns from Avram about the mitzvah of pidyon shvuyim, of redeeming those who are held captive. In the Talmud in Masechet Gittin, in page 58, a heart-wrenching story is told about a kidnapped child. It goes like this. The rabbis taught it once happened that Rabbi Yehoshua, the son of Hananiah, was traveling to a great city in Rome. They said to him, "There's a baby in the prison who has beautiful eyes and a fine appearance, and his locks are arranged in curls." Rabbi Yehoshua said, "I am certain that he will teach halacha, law in Israel. I swear by the temple service, I will not move from here until I have redeemed him for whatever amount of money they demand." They say that he did not move from that spot until he had redeemed the baby with a large amount of money, and it was only a short time before that baby became a teacher of the law in Israel. And who was he? Rabbi Yishmael, the son of Elisha, a huge Torah scholar. The Talmud is explaining that every kidnapped soul represents Torah that is yet to teach, love that is yet to give, work that is yet to be done, and art that is yet to be created. Each human who is snatched from us contains a world of possibilities within them, which means we have to be like Rabbi Yehoshua. We must plant our feet and refuse to budge and work tirelessly to bring our children home. Moses Maimonides' Rambam in the Mishnah Torah underscores the importance of pidyon shvuyim when he claims that the mitzvah is greater even than tzedakah. Rambam, who lost his own brother at sea, understood how precious all our brothers and sisters are. He was overcome with grief. What helped him heal was his advocacy for the brothers and sisters who were being held in captive. Rambam says, "The redemption of captives receives priority over sustaining the poor and providing them with clothing. Indeed, there is no greater mitzvah than the redemption of captives. For a captive is among those who are hungry, thirsty, and unclothed, and they are in mortal peril. If someone pays no attention to their redemption, they violate the negative commandments. Do not harden your heart or close your hand. Do not stand by the blood of your neighbor. Do not oppress others or exhaust them in your presence. And one has negated the observance of positive commandments. You shall open your hand to your kinsman. Your brother and your sister shall live with you. Love your neighbor as yourself. Save those who are taken from death." And many other decrees. He concludes, there is no mitzvah as great as pidyon shvuyim, redeeming the captives. Today is Shabbat HaChatufim, a Shabbat for the captives. Today we stand in Avram's shoes. Our nephew has been abducted. We must muster the strength to fight with everything in us to bring him home. Today we stand in Rabbi Yehoshua's shoes. Our babies have been kidnapped. With glowing eyes and curly hair, we must ground both feet. We must refuse to budge. We must see the promise of their unwritten future, and we will not let it go. Today we stand in Rambam's shoes. If we do not fight to bring home our brothers and sisters, then we are hardening our hearts and standing by the blood of our neighbors. If we truly love our neighbor as ourselves, we must do all we can for pidyon shvuyim, to free our captives. There is no greater mitzvah. Avram called Lot his brother, Achiv. Lot was not his biological brother. Lot was not close to Avraham geographically. Lot was not even close to Avram in relationship. But they never stopped being brothers. They were one family. And so are we. These are our family. When we sing the song Achenu, we stand with Avram. We call one another brother and sister, and we stand as one family. The lyrics proclaim, as for our brothers, the whole house of Israel, who are given over to trouble or captivity, whether they abide on the sea or on the dry land, may the all-present have mercy on them and bring them forth from constriction to expansiveness, from darkness to light, from subjugation to redemption, now, speedily and soon.
Achenu kol Beit Yisrael, Achenu kol Beit Yisrael, hanetunim b'tzara, b'tzara ובשביה, העומדים בין הים ובין ביבשה. אחינו כל בית ישראל, אחינו כל בית ישראל, הנתונים בצרה, בצרה ובשביה, העומדים בין הים ובין ביבשה. המקום ירחם, ירחם עליהם, ויוציאם מצרה לרווחה, מאפלה ליורה, משיבו לגאולה, השתה בגלה, ובזמן קריב. המקום ירחם, ירחם עליהם, ויוציאם מצרה לרווחה, ומאפלה ליורה, ומשיבו לגאולה, השתה בגלה, ובזמן קריב.
May they come home soon. Amen.
Amen.